And I turn around this corner, so we're going through this forest again, and I turn around this corner and boom, there's this massive, massive hill that I have to hike up. And I'm already like probably 12 to 15 kilometers into this race. What's up guys, Tristan Nagler here with another video. Today I want to discuss me running a marathon. So I ran a marathon about 2 years ago. I'm just going to go through what I experienced, what my experience was like running a marathon. I'm going to talk about how to run a marathon, what I did to train, things like that, why I don't think that you should run a marathon. So let's get right into it. So I first ran a trail race marathon in Vancouver, British Columbia. I was living in Whistler, BC. I thought at the time that it would be a good idea during a cut. I was bodybuilding at the time. I thought it would be a good idea in order to lose more weight was to train for a marathon while I was doing it. This was a horrible, horrible idea. Your training, your cardio, if you're going to do any cardio, needs to be regimented. It needs to be increased. It needs to be increased incrementally over the course of like your prep or your cut. So you want to start with like 30 minutes 3 times per day, and then you can maybe bump it up to 40 minutes per day per 3 days, and then you could do 4 days of 40 minutes, etc. You just keep increasing it. You want to increase that total energy expenditure. But if you haven't seen my video on cardio does not increase total energy expenditure, go please watch that. It's a very informative video that kind of changed the way I look at weight loss. We're not talking about that today. So yeah, I was 200 pounds. I wanted to get down to like 190, 185, around there. So I thought running a marathon would make sure that I was running several times a week and running for a long time. I didn't realize how different a trail race is from just a regular marathon. A regular marathon is basically flat. A trail race is basically hiking and running involved, and then so it's still a marathon, the exact same distance, except it's much, much harder. You're running on trails, you're running up and down elevation, and I distinctly remember going through my training, and I went back home for about 1 or 2 weeks, and I ran this race called the Run for the Toad. It was a half marathon. And this was a trail race, but it was nothing like a BC trail race because there's not nearly enough hills, not nearly enough elevation change. And I did that one like a breeze. Like it wasn't that hard. Like I don't remember it being super difficult, but that was part of my training. I did 2 half marathons. One was that Run for the Toad, and then the other was I just ran in Whistler. Like I calculated how much on maps it would be to run to a certain point. It was like, how much is a half marathon? Half marathon kilometers. I think it's 23 kilometers, 21 kilometers. So I ran 21 kilometers. So I'd run like 10 and a half approximately before I would just turn around and then finish it and see how I did. And I thought that would make me prepared enough, but apparently this trail race marathon in Vancouver was much, much different. So I was confident going into the race. I was training about 3 or 4 times a week. I would do about an hour and a half sometimes, so like 10 to 15 kilometers, 3 or 4 times a week. And I thought that was good enough, but I wasn't training for what I thought this race was going to be like. I didn't do a walkthrough. I just got there. I Airbnb'd it the night before so that I could just wake up, taxi over to the place, and then go do and run my my marathon. So we start the marathon, and it's like not too bad. Like there's a lot of stairs going up and down these stairs, and then eventually we got to this clearing. We're running on a road, and I come around, I'm running up. This is like North Vancouver area, and I run up, and it's like the beginning of Mount Seymour, which is like this big mountain in Vancouver. And I turn around this corner, so we're going through this forest again, and I turn around this corner, and boom, there's this massive, massive hill that I have to hike up, and I'm already like probably 12 to 15 kilometers into this race, and I have to hike up a mountain. I was not expecting this, and I wasn't thinking about dropping out. I was just thinking just finish it, just complete it. And I learned, like, there's this girl that was passing me by, and she had this interesting, like, technique, which was go for 7 seconds, just hike for 7 seconds hard, and then rest for 4, and then just keep repeating that until you get done the race. She told me while we were walking there that the last race, I think 3/4 of everyone dropped out because of that hill when it was raining. It was like apparently like this massive mudslide of a race. Like it was super hard to get up this massive hill, especially when there's like mud coming down the way. She helped me get up that, and she did a lot of marathons. She was a big runner, and we end up going past. So we get up to this gondola. Like literally, we hiked up to a gondola, and we ran down, and then you start going down this Black Diamond bike trail. And for you that don't know like the difference between like biking difficulties, it goes like green dot, and then blue square, and then black diamond, and then double black diamond. Double black diamond is the hardest. Black diamond is like relatively hard. You need to be very experienced to be able to do that on a bike. If you've never been down a Black Diamond bike trail before, it's basically just super steep. There's a lot of drops. So I was basically running and jumping down this mountain because I just wanted to like save time. That's the fastest way to do it instead of doing it all carefully. My knees were so shot at the end of that bike trail section that the girl beside me, who was this experienced runner, had already dropped out. So after that, it was like relatively flat, and upstairs, downstairs, like that's how it was. I finished the race in 6 hours and like 30 minutes, I think, which seems insane because the average runner, and I'm like, I'm not like just tooting my own horn, but like I'm a decent runner. I used to run cross country in high school. I've always been like a great long distance runner. I finished in 6 hours and 30 minutes. The fastest guy in that race, who was obviously a very experienced, very competitive runner, did it in 4 hours and 30 minutes, I believe. Only 2 hours faster than me. The normal person for like a marathon, the average person can run a marathon in like 4 hours. That's just flat though. It was difficult. It was very difficult. I'm glad I did it though. It left me with like a host of different problems. For one, I was sick for a week after, like just cold, like not feeling very good. I finished the race, wasn't feeling good. And I swear to this day, all that running did was like ruin my feet. I guess I could just continue with that, and we'll reroute back to how to run a marathon if you really want to. But yeah, I got into my next prep, my next cut, and I was running 45 minutes, 5 days per week. And this was on a treadmill, and I got really, really bad shin splints. Like I couldn't run across the street without my calves hurting and my shins hurting. Tried everything, and I ended up starting to box. And I started to love fighting and kickboxing and boxing and Muay Thai. So I started doing that 5 days per week to try and make that my cardio. Didn't work out. And if I knew what I knew now about like cardio and how it doesn't increase your total energy expenditure, I would have taken a different approach to that cut. But you know what? All things happen for a reason, and I started boxing, and I did my first kickboxing fight, which you could also see on my YouTube channel if you go and check that out. I didn't win, but I went all 3 rounds with a fighter that's had a few fights, and it was a great experience, and one of my hardest experiences, probably just as hard as the marathon, in terms of how taxing it is on your body. Don't fight anymore. It's causing too many concussions, but that's besides the point. And yeah, I got shin splints, which were really bad. I eventually fixed those, and they weren't as bad. But now I have problems with my feet, which I don't know what's wrong with them. I think it's plantar fascialis, which is a common problem with runners, triathlon runners, Ironman runners, and anyone who's just into running in general. They probably know what plantar fascialis is, and it's basically like pain in your feet. I don't know how to describe it. I haven't researched it very much. I should, but I'm not doing any cardio, so I don't have to worry about it nearly as much, and I would just ride my bike if I needed to get some cardio in, or I wanted to go somewhere, or I wanted to just get some cardio in just for health purposes. I basically can't ski, I can't skate, and I can't run because my feet hurt so much. And it's probably because of how much running on treadmills and roads that I did over these past 2 or 3 years. This is why I don't think you should run a marathon. It's so bad for your body in terms of what it does to your feet. This weight is constantly hitting your feet, and you're hitting pavement, and you're constantly just like having this impact over and over and over and over again. There's so many better forms of cardio that you can do that aren't going to hurt your body. Like, for example, swimming and biking. It's much less lower impact, and you still get the exact same benefits. Running is great. I loved running. Unless you're like a professional or something, I don't think it's the best achievement or goal that you should shoot for. I mean, people are still going to go and do marathons because it's definitely a renowned like achievement, world-renowned achievement. Everyone thinks running a marathon is super hard. It's a cool thing, but maybe do a super long bike ride. I remember they had a bike ride race in Whistler. It was actually Vancouver. You started in North Vancouver, and then you biked to Whistler, which is definitely a difficult feat as well. So you could always do something like that. But if you're going to run a marathon anyways, I recommend training several times a week. If you're already overweight and you're not fit, then I recommend doing like 5 to 6 days a week to train for it, or prolong your period of training. I only trained for 2 months. You should probably train for 4 or 5 months if you're not normally a very fit person. You'll be fine with that. I mean, there's nothing more to it. All you got to do is just stay in there and stick to it and just keep running. That's all I got to say. That's all you got to do. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you do like a couple half marathons before. That's what I did. You should be good to go. Anyways, guys, that's my experience with running a marathon, how to run a marathon, and why I don't really think you should run a marathon. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe button down below. We're going to 1,000 subscribers. I want to hit that. More videos to come, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.